If you want your horse to get to that beautiful uphill balanced frame in their lifetime, then you have to start at the walk. There's way too many people that go straight to the trot and try and frame up their horse with their hands mostly, and it doesn't work very well. The horse resists them and doesn't understand what it is that they want. So you have to start at the walk with the halts and the reinbacks, and going forward in the walk and slowing down in the walk, because that builds your awareness as a rider on what your horse's balance actually is. What is understanding of your rein aid, of your leg aid, of your seat aid actually is. So this guy has been here about 3 months, and we have pretty much focused on the walk, the halt, and the rein back. And because we've done that, he's doing some really nice leg yields and at the trot, and he's starting to do some nice bending and flexing, and even finding a soft frame here and there with that nice uphill feeling and look into his body. So I think I want to emphasize that the rein back and the walk are key to getting an understanding between you and your horse on what the goal is. If they can't stop and they can't back up easily, like that was really good, then you shouldn't be trotting or cantering. There's too many fundamentals that are missing. And then the other thing that I focus on is being able to ask him to lengthen the stride of his walk, because that's going to build some strength in his hind leg, and it's going to get him to kind of play with his balance staying uphill, even though we're going a little bit faster and covering a little more ground. I still want him to stay uphill. It'll also give you an idea, because it's the walk is, you can pretty much teach everything at the walk. And when you do that, you can slow everything down and actually get a feel for the horse's shoulders and their hips and their back and their neck and their head. You can feel where everything is, and when it becomes balanced and when it falls out of balance. And then you can help the horse maintain balance and straightness with exercises such as leg yield, and turn on the forehand, turn on the haunches, side passing. And you can become aware of where your horse's balance is for when you are going to the trot and eventually the canter. Good boy. You can see how easily he backs up, really, really light in my hand, no more than ½ pound in each rein. Super, super light. Then he goes forward nicely, and I can ask him to lengthen his stride in the walk, and I can feel him pushing from his hind leg with a little more power and strength when he does that. So that's him building muscle, or muscle memory as well as muscle, understanding how to keep his shoulders up and push from behind. He's not pushing. We don't want them to push from the hind leg and fall onto the forehand. We want them to push from the hind leg and come up with the forehand, come up and then be able to strength or to lengthen their stride because their shoulders are up and out of the way. Good boy, that's really nice. So that's how you actually get your horse into a frame, is starting first by understanding how their body works and then helping them understand how to make their body work better through these very slow, very seemingly simple exercises. Good boy. So you can really see where the problems are. When you go into the trot and the canter, it's just too fast and it's asking too much of them. If all of your walk work is good, then you have the right to go to the trot and work on things at the trot. And then if all your trot work is good, you have the right to go to the canter. But if it's not, there's no reason to be asking your horse for things that he doesn't understand or is not strong enough to give you. And this guy, he kind of tends to lean out to the left when I ask him to stop. So I can put him into a little turn on the haunches, move his shoulders right. Good boy. But that just tells me that there's some straightness issues there. He kind of leans on the left. And so that we've got some symmetry things that we can work on. We're not perfect yet. And you don't have to be perfect in the walk work, but you have to be at very least good. There has to be understanding between you and your horse. Good boy. And then you can go to the trot work. And you might do the same stuff at the trot. You might make sure that you can come back to the walk pretty easily, that you can go forward pretty easily. And you'll notice I never ask him to put his head down. I do not care about where his head is. I care about where his hindquarters are, where his back is, where his balance is. Where his head is doesn't matter, because that can be shaped and changed when he is in balance. Good boy. And we'll go to the trot again. I have never asked this horse to put his head down, not one time in his 3 months of being with me. Unless it was on the ground for bridling purposes, but never in the saddle. I have actually only asked this horse to put his head up, because when they bring their head up, it's much easier for them to understand that the shoulder comes up with the head and that the butt goes down. When their butt goes down, the shoulder comes up, the head comes up. I want them to think about coming up with their front end. And eventually they'll have the balance and the understanding to put their head wherever I ask them to, but they'll keep their shoulders up, because that's what's really important. And I would never put this horse in some sort of a equipment that's going to force his head down, because then he's going to be working really hard to bring his shoulders up. When he brings his head up like that, it's much easier for him to put all of his weight back on his hind legs. Good boy. And these transitions are really important, because you can help the horse bring the head up, bring the shoulder up as you're asking them to walk. Ask him to walk, bring the head up. You can kind of see him dive a little bit there. Bring the head up, good boy. And it's okay if they throw their head up like that. Sometimes they have to kind of readjust their whole body to get their weight back on the hind legs. I would much rather them do that than dive heavy into my hand and onto the forehand. Good boy. I'm teaching him actual self-carriage. When you are fussing with your horse's head, trying to get it to come down, you're not actually teaching them self-carriage. Good boy. So it's about working the whole body, not the head and the neck. And I know it's been said over and over and over again, but for some reason people don't actually understand that you just leave the head and the neck alone as long as the balance is good. When the balance falls on the forehand, bring the head and the neck up so the horse can readjust their balance onto the hind end. And the other favorite of mine is the leg yield. That also helps the horse find balance onto the hind legs. I'm going to take him down the quarter line here. I'm going to ask him to leg yield right to the rail. Good boy. And then forward. So he tends to get really slow because he doesn't really want to push from his hind leg. It's kind of hard work. So I'm usually asking him to take bigger strides. And I'll ask him to go left here, readjust the shoulders to the left, and then see if we can get the hind end going with us. Good boy. And it does not matter where his head is. It only matters where his balance is, which is on the hind legs. I don't feel like I'm falling downhill. I don't feel like I'm carrying 100 pounds in my hand. And this is also a flexibility exercise, so he's starting to find some bend through his body. Good boy. Good boy. And when they start to find some bend in their body, they'll usually start to experiment with kind of stretching their head to the left and to the right, and then maybe down a little bit. And that's when you get that really lovely round over the top line, stretching down through the neck and the head frame and appearance. Good boy. And I have to push him forward so that way he's pushing off of his hind legs, not dragging with his front legs. Good boy. Good. And if your horse can't do, or you and your horse can't do a leg yield at the walk, then you have to go back to the standstill and you have to work on moving the shoulders, moving the hips, moving both, and then you can go back to the walk and practice moving the shoulders. So like there he got a little confused, so I got him to move the shoulders. Good boy. And then I brought the hips along with us. Good boy. This is how you actually ride with your seat. A lot of people say, oh, ride with your seat, communicate with the seat and the leg. This is how you actually do that. You start to work on lateral work. You start to teach them to move off of the leg. And the hand is only a support when they need it. It only helps to shape their body. When I want him to look to the right as he's moving left, I might bring my left hand out a little bit to call the shoulder over. My right leg is on, pushing the shoulder over. And once he starts to go that way, I'm going to open up my right hand and get him to look right. Good boy. And here he's just kind of, because I'm asking him to have a little bit more push from behind today than maybe I have before, he's having a little bit of a struggle figuring out how to coordinate his body and have a little more power behind. Good boy. There, he's figured it out just a bit there. And then he kind of fell. So their balance changes every stride. It might be good for one stride, then bad the next, then good again. You have to be the one that says, oh, I should change to this exercise, or I should change to that, to help him maintain his balance a little bit longer. Good boy. Good boy. If he wants to stretch his head and neck down, I'm going to allow it because I want him to feel what that feels like. But I'm not going to compromise the balance to do that. Good boy. And here we're almost working a little bit on shoulder in. Not that I'm really asking for it, but I like that he's keeping a little bit of bend in his body as he makes the turn. Good boy. And then again, I want to be able to send him into a bigger stride. And then I want to be able to bring him into a slower stride. Good boy. Without him getting really heavy in my hands. I want to have some adjustability. I want to start to teach adjustability here at the walk. Now we're going to do a little leg yield to the right. Good boy. I'm going to ask for a little more push from behind. This is with my left leg and a wave of the stick. And it's totally fine that the head comes up. That's where he's trying to lift his shoulders because he's got really heavy shoulders and a weak hind end. So when I ask for more push, more engagement, he says, wow, that's really hard. So his head comes up and he's really trying to find where he can lift his shoulders up. Good boy. And you can see he's got a really nice forward walk here though, and it's pretty much on his own without me having to bug him. And ask for a little bit bigger step sideways, but I don't want him to fall forward. Yep. Good boy. That's why it's important to do this at the walk so that the rider and the horse can feel what it feels like when it goes right or when it goes wrong. Good boy. Good, so he's got the shoulders going, good. And there he's even experimenting a little bit with stretching down. Good boy. Because this is a very new feeling to him to have some bend in his body. So when he starts to feel that, he says, oh, that's kind of nice being able to stretch my right side. And so I'm going to experiment with kind of stretching down a little bit because it kind of feels good. Good boy. And you'll notice that your horse gets straighter in their body the more you work this lateral stuff because they're actually building symmetry through their body. Because naturally the horse is tight on one side and they're a little more flexible on the other. Good boy. And so when you start to work both sides, one side gets stronger and starts to catch up to the other side. So they'll be more symmetric. Like here, he's starting to straighten his head. He likes to carry his head a little bit crooked, trying to hold his body in some form of balance, but it's not really straight. So as we've been working this, he's starting to get straighter where his nose or his head is in line with his chest. Good boy. Good boy. And I'm always working towards a light feel in my hands. Good. The heavier they are in your hand, the more on the forehand they are. They're trying to hold themselves up with you. Good boy. That was a really nice balanced trot. He stayed uphill. Good boy. He even gave me a little leg yield there. You'll notice as they get more balanced, they can maintain a good rhythm in their trot. They can keep the same speed. Good boy. Without you having to hold them. I can just sit here on a loose rein and he is maintaining the same speed. Good boy, even in the leg yield. Good boy. And there I was asking him to kind of tuck his pelvis a little bit more. Good, so we can have bigger steps sideways. Good boy. Very good. And there he's even starting to lower his head a little. Think about stretching down and out. And again, it's about allowing him to do that, not about focusing on doing that. I want the exercises to be helping him carry his body in a way that it feels nice and it feels safe to stretch down and out. Good boy. I'm going to do a little bit more this direction. Good boy. And you can see there, I asked him for a little bit more bend. I think he's a little tighter to the right. He's asking him for more bend to the inside here. Get him to look right. And as he did that, he started to soften into that contact without getting heavy. Good boy. And we'll do some leg yields. This is his harder direction. Good. Because we need to be able to look right, but he's so tight going. I guess he's tight on his left side, so it's hard for him to look right and bend through the right rib cage. It just feels a little bit difficult to him. Oh boy. Good, so he has to work a little harder. Good boy. But all the work that we've done at the walk has helped him understand what it is I'm asking for when I wave the stick or give a little more squeeze with the inside leg. Good. Good boy. That's nice bend there. There he actually picked up the shoulder and he now had a nice bend through the ribs there. Good boy. Good. He still stays really light. Even when I ask for more engagement with the hind end, he doesn't rush forward, he doesn't panic. Good, good. Yeah, you see there, he straightened his head. Good boy. Because I don't want him to have this little tip in his head where he's kind of offline from his chest. I want him to straighten the head, but I'm using the exercise to help him find that, help him find more stretch through the left side so he feels like he can straighten his head and his neck. Good boy. And he just said that he needed to walk there, so I let him. It's not a big deal. I don't need him to fix everything all at once. Good. You can see there he's stretching down. We're going to go out of the arena a bit here just to kind of go with it. Good boy. Starting to straighten. Good. He's having a nice bend. Very nice. You don't want to overwhelm your horse with these things. You want it to feel good to them. You want them to feel like, oh, I'm really getting it, or yes, that feels right. Good boy. Very nice. Good, yeah. There he's stretching. Look at it, that nice stretch there. Never ever asking this horse to put his head down. He's offering it because I've only worked on balance and rhythm and flexibility. I've only worked on his body. And so he is able to start to shape his head and his neck, start to feel like he can move around and still be balanced with, it doesn't feel like he's going to fall down. And he understands that this is what it should feel like. Good boy. So he starts to get a little bit more stretch through the left side. Good. He starts to straighten through his body. And this stuff is really fun for me because the horses start to realize that they are what they're capable of, and what it feels like to be in balance, what it feels like to be able to use their body correctly. Good job. That nice stretch.